1 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. Staff, please do a roll call.
Committee Member Kemp. Committee Member Kemp. Committee Member Knight.
Here.
Committee Chair Schisler.
Here.
Committee Member Williams.
Here.
You do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Rules for participation and roles and responsibilities of all committees are provided in the packet. First order of business will be public comment. Not aware of any. Danielle, is that still the case? Okay, no public comment. No one is scheduled this week, therefore, anybody present, if there's anyone present for this comment this morning, please stand up. Seeing none, having none, this concludes the public input section of the meeting. Next is the election of the HART officers and, of the HART officers for the Finance and Audit Committee and appointments as needed. Ms. Julia Mendel.
Thank you. I'll take nominations for Chair of the Finance and Audit Committee.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Schisler, Chair.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? With no other nominations, we need to take a vote to appoint Mr. Schisler as Chair of the Finance and Audit Committee.
Committee Member Kemp.
Yes.
Committee Member Knight.
Yes.
Committee Chair Schisler.
Yes.
Committee Member Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll take nominations for the Vice Chair of the Finance and Audit Committee.
I'd like to nominate Melanie Williams.
Are there any other nominations? With no other nominations, we will need to take a vote to appoint Ms. Williams as the Vice Chair of the Finance and Audit Committee.
Committee Member Kemp.
Yes.
Committee Member Knight.
Yes.
Committee Chair Schisler.
Yes.
Committee Member Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, in the packet is the minutes from the January 23rd, 2023 Strategic Planning and External Relations, Operations and Safety, Finance and Audit Committee meetings, and the February 20th Finance and Audit Committee meetings. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have this motion and a second? Staff, please take roll call vote.
Committee Member Kemp.
Yes.
Committee Member Knight.
Yes.
Committee Chair Schisler.
Yes.
Committee Member Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, committee action items. Next on the agenda, the committee action items for review by the committee for recommendations for approval to the Board of Directors. Item 5A is for the committee to form a recommendation to the HART Board of Directors authorizing the CEO to award a 3-year contract to Routing Company for paratransit, demand response, and flex computer-aided dispatch and automatic vehicle location, and scheduling intelligent transportation systems to a not-to-exceed amount of $1,193,918. In your package, you have a write-up of the proposed resolution in support of this item. Do committee members have any questions or comments for staff at this point? Seeing none, is there a motion to recommend to the full HART Board authorizing the CEO to award the 3-year contract to Routing Company for paratransit, demand response, flex computer-aided dispatch, and automatic vehicle location, and scheduling intelligent transportation system in a not-to-exceed amount of $1,193,918, and advance this item to the full Board of Directors at the next board meeting. I need a motion for discussion.
Can we just have a little bit of, information about it?
Of course.
Good morning again. Oh, there we go. So we went through the procurement process. We had 4 vendors that submitted. Throughout that process, our 3-person committee saw their technical proposal, read through them. The routing company was the highest technical score while being the lowest price within range. In terms of the routing company, it's an app-enabled software, so really all we're going to have to put on our vehicles are tablets, which are already priced in, and it'll give our paratransit customers similar, if not better, transparency into their trip than even our fixed route customers have. So they can book, they can cancel, they can do everything right from their phone. They can still call the call center. We're not taking any of those functionalities away, but they'll also be able to pay through a credit card or a debit card through the platform itself. Additionally, one of the big differentiators of this platform is the ability that, as we're doing the flex service or increasing the flex service, create time transfers between the flex service and our fixed route service. And that would be really important for things like the 33, where if you are going to the hospital from the flex service, it's kind of one unified journey. Any questions?
Yes.
Thank you for did you make a motion? I'm sorry.
No, we have no motion yet. We're still in discussion, unless you're ready.
I'll move to approve. I did have one more comment. I noticed it would be interesting, I noticed when you gave numbers this morning, in terms of the flex service and expanding the flex service, if we can see the numbers month to month, in a specific graph just for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And one thing I totally forgot to mention here is that when it deals with the flex service, the way we're doing it right now is we have one scheduler that is doing everything manually by hand. This will allow us to collect all that data automatically and give us better transparency into what we're reporting to NTD on the flex side of things. So it'll really make us very, very accurate on that side of things. Human error is what it is, but our group does a good job of at least trying to do what they can with pen and pencil. Now they'll be able to just pull reports on a monthly basis, and we can certainly put that into a dashboard and just have you, give you the ability to just look at that on a monthly basis.
Yeah, as we rely more and more upon Flex, that's probably going to be a sorely needed add-on. Commissioner Knight, or Director
Yes,
Knight?
if you may, thanks for the presentation. But compare it to the regular route, like the 5 highest patron, that using the bus system, compared to what you're trying to do here. How are we, and even with some of this information and technology, with all those routes that carry a lot of people and better generating, have concern for this as well. But what about the fixed route and some of these, the higher ranking bus service? How are we doing as far as that compared to what you're trying to do here?
Sure. Well, let me just back up a little bit. So remember, the scope of this is anything that's not fixed route service. So that includes our paratransit customers that right now their only capability is to pick up the phone, call our call center, and then from there pretty much just wait. So what we'll be able to do is whether they have a laptop at home, a computer at home, or even a cell phone, they'll be able to see where their bus is, kind of like you can with fixed route today with all our kind of live information. If you mean when we're going to do something like this for fixed route, that's going to be coming up over the next couple months throughout the year as well. So that'll be kind of a slow rollout where we'll do what's called kind of an onboard app potentially first, make sure that's in all our vehicles. But yeah, just keep in mind that in terms of the KPIs, it's going to be different, right? Like paratransit is not going to have the same amount of ridership that our top 4 routes have. Neither will the flex. The idea with the flex specifically is to take some of those low efficiency routes and line them up with services that kind of are more efficient. On top of that, still maintaining the transfers to the fixed route system. So that live information we get from Google and our GTFS, which is what feeds the Google, will also be able to kind of line up with what this service will be as well for transfers.
So
Does that answer your question?
So you're saying that the priorities, you feel this is more important than the other route?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say the scope of this is the other routes. So fixed route isn't more important than paratransit. Paratransit is not more important than streetcar. They all kind of work together as an integrated network.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Ms. Floyd?
Can I,
Oh, I recognize Ms. Williams first, then I'll come back to you, Ms. Kemp.
Thank you. I think we, going forward, I'd like a brief overview or something that shares with us how we came to the decision that we came to, and recognizing that you are the expert, you have already vetted this process, and maybe I just need just a refresher on the recommendation that we made here to, as we go further to the larger board.
Sure.
And you obviously have it top of mind in your head as to what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we definitely want to support the decision after the vetting process, just a refresher in the documents so that we have that to refer to going forward.
So the one thing I will say is this went through our normal procurement process.
Yeah.
I served kind of an advisory role just because I know the space pretty well. But we had 3 people that were in paratransit and technology and in operations that were in that selection committee. So they're the ones that read through the proposals. In addition to that, our procurement team, which is led by Kathy Zigafus, they went through the financial proposal to make sure that everybody was in compliance. We had the right kind of, financial structures, payment structure, all those things. So it was kind of 2 different streams, our procurement process. There's the technical side where our technical team goes through it and scores it. That's what came out the highest score out of the 4 bidders that we had. Then when we went to the financial piece of it, out of the 4 bidders, they were also the lowest one in terms of pricing as well. So really, in terms of a procurement, right, this is kind of like the ideal, right? Like usually if someone is high technical, they're pretty high pricing. But for them to be highest technical and lowest pricing, it's kind of a open and shut win.
I understand that is the great place for us to be across the board and get high service, low price point. And so I just would like to be able to just agree with your recommendation without any question whatsoever. And for me to do that, I would need some type of high-level summary of what you said, so I could do that without question.
Okay.
As we take a recommendation to
Sure.
take it to the broader board.
Did you want something more than what's in the packet? Because I believe the one pager refers to the highest tech and the lowest price.
Yes, I would.
Okay, great. I'll talk to procurement and see what we can provide. I mean, obviously, it's a procurement process, so I'm not sure in terms of what we can and can't provide, but whatever we can, we certainly will.
I'm not asking to reassess your assessment.
No, sure.
I'm just asking for.
That context.
Thank you, the context
No problem.
of the decision.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
Okay. Ms. Kemp, you're recognized.
thank you. And I was actually, excuse me, just going to say the exact same thing. And I know it's in the backup, but I think for the record and for the board, just actually the information that you gave in the first part was good information, even though it's in the packet, for the record and during the board meeting and for the public. It's just good to have a little explanation of what it is that we're approving and not re-looking at the procurement or questioning it or anything, but just what the information is about, what the item is that we're approving and what it will do. And I think that that's important basis for the board before they take their vote, even if it's already in the backup packet. I think it was perfect statement that you made after you were called on. And it's helpful to the board as we move forward to get that.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion to move this forward to the full board?
I'd already made a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Do we have a second?
I like to make the second with, let me ask you this, with caveat that we have the additional information to provide.
Will the information be ready for the board meeting?
Oh, yeah, we can
Okay.
definitely do that, absolutely.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Danielle, could you take a roll call vote, please?
Committee Member Kemp?
Yes.
Committee Member Knight?
Yes.
Committee Chair Schisler?
Yes,
Committee Member Williams? Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
thank you. Next action item, 5B in your packet. There's a write-up and a proposed resolution to form a recommendation to the HART Board of Directors to authorize the CEO to award a one-year contract with with four one-year options to Risk Management Associates for property and casualty insurance broker services in a not-to-exceed amount of $200,000. Is there anybody prepared to discuss this?
Ms. Sikafus, may you approach?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Sikafos. A point was made in the last set of discussions. Can you give us a 5,000-foot flyover of what this encompasses, what we've done, and how we got to this point?
Yeah, so we did a request for proposal, and we had an evaluation team of how many people? Of three folks. The solicitation package was sent out, publicly noticed, and sent out, downloaded by 25 firms. The number of DBE and SBE firms solicited was 19. We received 2 proposals. We received no DBE or proposals. There was the technical evaluation, just as any RFP would be done. The technical evaluation was completed by the committee. And then that resulted in 94.23 points, technical points for risk management, the one that have brought to the committee. And then 69.25 points was given to HUB, Public Risk, the other responder. The total not to exceed contract is for $200,000. And then, of course, we go through the responsibility determination to ensure that they have the financial capacity, aren't on the debarred list, have a license to conduct business.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for staff regarding the proposal? Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. and
I'm sorry, I
thanks
recognize
again.
Mr. Knight. I'll recognize you next.
You go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Knight.
Okay. And again, like the DBE that's downloaded to one who either submit or don't, I see it here, but I would love to, along with Director Williams' request from the previous one, and along with this, and as well as others, that we have this backup that we can see, give us some information. So when we get hit on the street or wherever saying, well, how did it happen? We see, but there's no documentation that we're getting to back up what's here. I like to see of the one that presented it or you sent out to, that we have something that we can look at. Black and white a lot better than just, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Okay.
Is this information not in the packet?
Yes, it is.
We received it
Yeah, that's what I
electronically.
read from.
That's what I thought.
You read, but all the
Yes.
that are doing it, the information where y'all getting it from, can we have a little bit more than just what's written here?
May I respond?
Please, Ms. LeGrand.
So, Director Knight, just to make sure I'm capturing your request accurately, you would like to see in the backup information also, so for example, in the backup information that we currently have, under financial impact, it states that 17 DBEs were notified for the opportunity 4 DBEs and 1 SBE downloaded the opportunity but did not submit a proposal. You'd like to see who looked at the proposal and also the 4 DBEs that downloaded it and the 1 SBE that downloaded but did not submit the proposal. Is that what I'm understanding? So, Ms. Zickerfus, is that something that we can provide in the backup to show, even if it's just in a tabular format, the names of the companies that have downloaded or that we notified that this was hitting the streets, if you will, and then the ones that actually downloaded the proposal so that in the backup, they can see the names and see, you know, the companies that were interested, I think is what the request is.
Sure. Yeah, we have that information, and we can make it part of the write-up.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Camp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to just move approval first off. And second, this wasn't one where I really needed more information than the motion as opposed to the last one, which was a system implementation. So for me, the backup that was provided here was fine, and the presentation or the request was a faster one. On the last one, I wanted some information about what the system would do, what we were doing $1 million for exactly. But again, I'll just make the motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Williams, comment?
I have a question about the $40,000. It's funding in the amount of $40,000 is allocated, and it looks like it says that the amount is $200,000. So I just want to make sure that it is funded, or this request is funded.
Can you address that, Ms. Zickerfus?
Yeah, yes, it is. That's another exercise that we go through before we bring to committee and board for any contract. We get with the finance department and confirm that we have the funding in the current year, and then future years, it'll be part of the budgeting process.
Because this is a one-year contract with 4 one-year options afterwards, so total
Right.
5 potential, making sure the funding is there at $40,000 a year.
40, okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Second.
May I?
Please.
Okay, so the other thing is, on an annual basis, what you'll see, since we put our budget together, we will, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we're going through the budget process now. The reason why it says future years are contingent, because we're just working on FY23 budget. So when we get into FY24 budget, there'll be a line item associated with the spend for this for FY24 and so on. So just want you to know that you'll continue to see this in our budget as a line item. Also, I wanted to respond to the other action item, the last one on the CAD AVL. Just, we do and we will provide more detailed information. I just wanted to bring for a point of, clarity that action item came before the board when we asked for approval to solicit. So when we asked for approval to solicit for the CAD AVL, we did a bigger presentation on what the CAD AVL was going to do, the functionality. I think there was even a presentation that showed what the little app could look like. So that was the first step in the procurement process, is to come before the board to get permission to solicit. Then when we go through the solicitation process, we come back with approval to award. So what I'm going to also suggest that we do in our backup information is also to include the material when we come before the board for approval to solicit, because it's already there, right? We have that information, and what we can do is just continue to build upon the first presentation, so that when you go back, and I agree with you, it takes several months to go from asking for approval to solicit to approval to award, but you'll have a complete picture. So we'll work on making sure both of those are there.
Okay, and thank you for the clarification. My question was around 40,000 to 200, but it's four 1 year, 5 1 year requests, and it's contingent, is my understanding. That clarifies. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Ms. Jackson?
Committee Member Kemp?
Yes.
Committeemember Knight?
Yes.
Committee Chair Schisler?
Yes,
Committeemember Williams?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
thanks, guys. Okay, next action item is 5C. In your packets, there's a write-up and a proposed resolution to form a recommendation to the HART Board to authorize the CEO to extend bus shelter and bench advertising contract with Signal Outdoor Advertising, DBA Insight Street Media, up to 3 months with an end date not to exceed June 30th, 2023. Do we have anybody, any commentary?
Good morning again. Oops, sorry. So really, the extension is just so we can kind of finalize or keep on track what we have on the street now, and then continue the procurement process on the back end of it, just so the timeline lines up perfectly and we don't have a gap in service. It's really the goal.
Any idea on the cost?
We have, do you, Kathy, have? It's revenue. So it's revenue
revenue
estimates more than
service
cost, actually.
Okay, all right. Okay, committee members have any comments or questions of staff on this? If not, could I entertain a motion to recommend to the HART Board?
Move approval.
Okay,
I
thank you.
second it.
Do we have a motion on the floor? Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, motion is second. Ms. Jackson, if you could do a roll call vote, I appreciate it.
Committeemember Kemp?
Yes.
Committeemember Knight?
Yes.
Committee Chair Schisler?
Yes,
Committeemember Williams?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, action item 5D is for the committee to form a recommendation to the HART Board to authorize the CEO to exercise option year 4 of the contract with Mansfield Oil Company of Gainesville, Palmdale Oil Company, and Petroleum Traders Corporation for the delivery of unleaded and diesel fuel for fiscal year 2024. In your packets, there's a write-up and a proposed resolution. Do the committee members have any questions regarding this item? Does staff have?
I'll
any-
move approval.
Thank you.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please, Danielle, if you could do a roll call vote, please.
Committeemember Kemp?
Yes.
Committeemember Knight?
Yes.
Committee Chair Schisler?
Yes,
Committeemember Williams?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
thank you. Next action, item 5E. In your packets, there's a write-up and proposed resolution to form a recommendation to the HART Board to authorize the CEO to exercise option year 1 and authorize option years 2 through 4 on the contracts for Flores Construction, American Construction Services, Inc. of Tampa, and AJ Construction Services for bus transit infrastructure, BTI construction. Any questions of staff on the proposal? Mr. Knight, you're recognized.
Okay. Why not just authorize year 1? Caveat within 2, 3, and 4. Why would that be needed at this point? With inflation, different things, can we hit on that some?
Okay, about a year ago, we brought this to board to award a 5-year contract. And that was approved by the board. When we did that, though, we failed to have the language in the contract that allowed us to extend the contract option years, like we often do, so that if it's a service that we continue to need, and also if it's something that we have the funding to do, then HART CEO has the authority to exercise the option years. So that's all this is doing, is rather than having to come to committee and board to exercise the basis, is we're almost through the base. This is just to authorize the CEO to exercise the options as they come.
And
I'll move approval. I'm sorry.
We have a motion. Mr. Knight.
didn't have a problem, but
Go
it's
ahead.
just like that year one, have the 4-year option or 5, whatever. But that year one, after the year one, with the option for year 2, come back and we can look at it, look how things are, then go from there. But I didn't think that should give it all one time, that's all 4 years to at the mercy of the CEO. After next year, come back. You got the options, but to authorize to, let's see what the numbers is.
Well, I mean, that's no different than what we just did for the insurance contract. We essentially authorized all 5 years. I think it's a, Ms. Zuckerfuss, you have a comment?
Yes, may I add too, that this is part of the task order reporting, procurement reporting that Ms. LeGrand goes through at the committee meetings. And that's what these contracts are. So we keep a tally of the task orders that we issue to these contractors for this service.
Thank you.
Just
Yes, ma'am.
for clarification, are you saying that they're reported in year 2, 3, 4, 5 on the document that is provided each board meeting as it states? She has a process for that?
Yeah,
In the board meeting contract phase of it as well, right?
Yes.
I do recall seeing that.
yes, we report the sole sources, and then we report the task orders. And when the contract was awarded, it was not to exceed $5 million. So as the task orders are issued, it's deducted from the board award amount.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I thought, okay, second.
Okay, Ms. Jackson, could you take a roll call vote, please?
Committeemember Kemp?
Yes.
Committeemember Knight?
No?
Committee Chair Schisler?
Yes.
Committeemember Williams?
Yes.
The motion passes 3-1.
Thank you. Okay, the final committee action item is 5F. In your packets, there's a write-up, a proposed resolution to form a recommendation to the HART Board of Directors to authorize staff to proceed with a solicitation for procurement of a 1-year Microsoft Enterprise Agreement renewal. Do committee members have any questions or comments from staff? If not, I'll entertain.
I'll move approval.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? This is a motion to
I second.
seek with the solicitation. Any questions?
Director Knight seconded the motion.
I'm sorry?
Director Knight seconded the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. I apologize, I didn't hear it. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Jackson, if you'll do a roll call vote.
Committeemember Kemp?
Yes.
Committeemember Knight?
Yes.
Committee Chair Schisler?
Yes,
Committeemember Williams?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
thank you. Next, we'll have our procurement monitoring, sole source awards and deviation report from Ms. LeGrand.
Yes, so as you'll see on the screen shortly, so our sole source awards fiscal year to date, you see the total amount spent here is $724, almost $25,000. The last two, I would say, awards in February were for Precision of Southwest Florida and also for innovative cloud solutions. So one is for transmissions and one was for software. The next slide or page are our task orders. We just mentioned that we show these on a monthly basis. So for our task orders for FY '23, the first one was for HNTB. That was awarded March 2nd, and that was for the Great RAISE Grant. They supported us in writing the RAISE Grant application. That application was submitted on April 28, and hopefully we will be successful in this award. The remaining amount on that contract is approximately $2.6 million. The next one is for our bus transit infrastructure construction task order. So our task orders for FY '23, you'll see that we haven't had anything added to the list since the last meeting, but right now we have a remaining amount of $4.6 million in that task order. And that's it for those.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by the board members for staff? Appearing to be none. Any old business? Any new business?
I believe,
We are adjourned. Thank you.
it's,
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
Mr.
what-
There was a
what-
presentation.
I believe there's a presentation on the
I got
budget.
nothing.
You don't see
I
that
got-
on
I got
yours?
nothing.
Proposed
I'm
fiscal
sorry.
year 2024 budget calendar.
Yeah, it's under old business.
I was reading this. Okay, never mind. Wasn't
Yes.
wasn't in this.
Okay, so
agenda.
it's under old business.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Come on up.
Good morning, Chair Schistler, Ms. LeGrand, and committee members. This budget calendar presentation was made at the prior committee meeting, but it never made its way to the board. So, and we made some minor changes to it, very minor. So that's why I'm re-presenting again our proposed fiscal year 2024 budget calendar. So if you recall, on February 20th, we did present this originally. And on March 6th, the intent was to present it to the Board of Directors, which did not happen. But that's not preventing us from this period of March to May 2023, that the staff is developing the Chief Executive Officer's recommended operating budget, the capital budget, and the fiscal year 24 to 28 five-year capital plan. On May 15th, we will be presenting the tentative operating budget, capital plan, and capital budget to both the HART Finance and Audit Committee. Then on June 5th, the board meeting, the proposed operating budget, capital plan, and capital budget will be presented to the HART Board of Directors. On June 26th, at the HART Finance and Audit Committee, there'll be a presentation of the proposed amendment to the fiscal year '23 operating and capital budget, if necessary. On July 1st, or thereabouts, because July 1st is a Saturday, so it will probably be slightly before that, the proposed budget will be submitted to the governing legislative bodies, the City of Tampa, Florida, County of Hillsborough, Florida, and the City of Temple Terrace, Florida. On July 10th, the HART Board of Directors will consider the operating and capital budget amendments for approval, if necessary. Then on same day, on July 10th, the Board of Directors will resolve to advise the property appraiser of its prior year and current year proposed millage rate, rolled back rate, and the date, time, and place of a public hearing to consider the proposed millage rate and tentative budget. On July 31st, at the HART Board of Directors meeting, there will be a budget presentation and discussion of the fiscal year '24 service plan. August 14th, at the Finance and Audit Committee, there will be a presentation on the five-year capital plan and the fiscal year '24 capital budget. Then in September, these dates are still not identified, they're to be decided. We will be doing the proposed budget, the proposed HART's budget will be published on our HART's official websites with the 2-day requirement prior to the first public hearing. And then the first public hearing will be held on the proposed budget and millage. And at this public hearing, the board will adopt the proposed millage by resolution prior to adopting the proposed budget by resolution. And then towards the end of September, it will be the second and final public hearing held within 2 to 5 days after the advertisement appears in the newspaper. And at this public hearing, the board adopts the final millage by resolution prior to adopting the final budget by resolution. So that is our budget calendar. And then here is our calendar for fiscal year '23 program of projects. On May 15th, the proposed program of projects funded by FTA funding Section 5307 appropriation will be presented to the HART Finance and Audit Committee. On May 16th, public outreach begins. There'll be a general communication and publication of the program of projects to the public. Later on in May, the notice of public hearing on proposed program of projects, which will be 14 days prior to the public hearing, and then the notice to the vendors of the proposed program of projects, which is 14 days maximum prior to the public hearing. In June of '23, there will be public hearings on proposed program of projects, and June 5th, the HART Board of Directors meeting, action items to approve program of projects and accept FTA Sections 5307, 5337, and 5339 funding. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
May I say one thing? So I did, Ms. Izzo, thank you for the presentation. If you can go to slide number 2, I believe is the number,
Wait a minute.
or 54, I don't know. It's the second slide from the main presentation, yeah. Slide number 2.
The June dates?
No,
Or
the next one.
go up one?
Slide number 2.
Okay.
And if you can make that full screen. Okay, so I just wanted to land here for a second. If we look at the March through May of 2023 item, that row, in that row, Director Williams, is where we will be developing that FY24 plan for service. So if you see in this column, in this cell under milestones, it states the development of the operating revenue and expense assumptions. HART departments, divisions will submit proposed FY24 operating budgets. So between March and May of 2023, we'll be internally developing what you asked for at the operations committee meeting.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point that out since we went over it, that it's already embedded in what we're doing, and we'll just pull it out for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
recognize.
Mrs. O, thank you for the calendar. Just want to verify as that if you could just submit this calendar, just to make sure we all are here or make quorum for the important dates that are listed here, and specifically in September, August, September, we all have some kids that in school, and
Yes.
and then I saw July 10th as well, and we want to make sure that we are we are prepared and available to make sure we make good decisions here and be present for them. So if you could resubmit this for our calendars,
Absolutely.
that would be very helpful, because these are important dates that we have to meet. Thanks.
Yes.
Good point. Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other old business? Any other business to come before this committee? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
the calendar for 2:30.